Good, man. Hold up, I didn't have this set up yet. Drop it like that. What's happening, man? What's good out there in the YouTube world, in the football world? We're gonna talk some offensive linemen today. We're gonna break it all down. Who is the number one offensive tackle in this draft? Is there a first day number one tackle in this draft? Or are there a couple or a bunch of guys that kind of bunched together? Is there a number one first tier? We will break that down. We will get into all of that. Shout out, welcome to Raiders Unleashed. I appreciate people in the building who are already here waiting. Greg Brewer in the building. What's good, my guy? Positions we need. Come on, man. Stop playing with me. Offensive lineman. So, yeah, we got a lot of offensive tackles we are going to break down today. I try to keep the guys out who are projected, to be guards on the other side. We'll get into all of that. But how's everybody feeling? How's everybody feeling with the coaching staff? New hires every single day. I feel like this light is killing me. That's what I feel like. I feel like it's a nice mix of, young and old. A lot of experience for guys that are in their, late 30s, early 40s. I feel like that's huge. We've been needing to change. Youth. I thought AP was going to be the way, never given a chance. So maybe, just maybe, this guy, high profiled, coming in, Kubiak will get his chance to prove that is he the guy, is he not the guy. But before you do that, you need a quarterback. And before you do that, to win, to be a championship team, you have to win in the trenches. If you don't win in the trenches, everything is bad. Life is bad. Faded Raider, what's good? Shout out to you. Appreciate you. But we got these offensive linemen like Caden Proctor, who is basically a Volkswagen. um, they have him at 366, 6'7". Could he be the number one tackle taken? Some say yes, some say no. An issue with arm lengths, kind of like one of the main guys that was in the Super Bowl last year that said he would die on a hill for his quarterback. Sometimes arm length does matter at certain positions. And at offensive tackle, when you have speed, when you got, massive guys that have speed and strength and can bull rush, that can bend, that have crazy, ankle bend and can get around these big guys that don't, if you allow a defensive tackle or an edge to get to your body when you have shorter arms and you're a bigger guy with not great balance, you're in trouble, right? You're in trouble right off the rip. So we're going to break it down. Caleb Lamo, guy out of Utah. A lot of talk about the Raiders during the season. Had a lot of scouts at a lot of Utah games. Of course, they were checking out the big dogs. We all know, the number one pick projected to be Fernando Mendoza. And if you have a quarterback, you might want to go offensive lineman, right, to go get your guy. Guys like Monroe Freeling, Jennings Dunker, is he a tackle? Is he a guard? We'll get into that. Caleb Tiernan is a guy that, I have high on my list. Is he in the top 15? Is he in the top 10? Well, we're going to break it down. You have to stay tuned and find out. But guys like Blake Miller, Brandon Parker, Max Ian, I'm going to say this right. I know I'm going to get it. Ian Archer. I don't know. I'm not going to get it right. But a guy that's skyrocketing up people's boards, right? Doesn't have a whole lot of experience. Fifth-year senior. Didn't play football until very, very late, right? Not a guy that grew up playing football from day one. I believe was a basketball player and was just too big. And they were like, man, you're in the wrong sport. You need to go over here and check out this football game. And the dude has killed it ever since. 330, 6'6", just an absolute monster. Drew Shelton, I don't know why he's not on my list. Austin Barber, right? Lots of offensive tackles, but are any of these guys true number ones? Are they guys that can start from day one? I believe a lot of these guys have, you know, some of them have great traits, some of them have decent traits, but a lot of them have not solid, right? They're not solid at the run game, they're not solid in the pass game. Some guys are like to get a lot of penalties from holding, when you get beat by guys. So we're gonna break it all down. Shout out to everybody in the building. Are we keeping Max Crosby? Um, Go back and check out the other lives, man. We talked about Max Crosby till we're blue in the face, right? And I think a lot of people want to know, is Max going to stay? Is Max going to go? That's up to Max Crosby. I think it's very, very clear. If Max wants to be here, the door is open. He can be a Raider for life. He's got it tatted on him. He says he wants to be here, but does he really want to be here? All signs lately have been pointing to no. The stuff that's been coming out, the way it's been coming out, it doesn't seem like, he's happy in the building. So sometimes it's, sometimes you give your life to something, 8 years, 7 years of your life going on 8 years, and you just don't get to where you want to be or where you feel you should be in your career. And people make career changes all the time, right? Man, he's got rap gigs going on. He bought a, a soccer team. Like Max Crosby seems to, acting like maybe his career playing days might not be as long as everybody is expecting. I mean, with all the stuff going on, if you're focused on being a champion and winning Super Bowls, I think you should be focused on that. So for Max Crosby, if he wants to be here, the door's open. He's going to be here. If he doesn't want to be here, he's got to ask for a trade. And will he do that? I don't believe so. I don't. So we'll see, man. We'll see. But either way it goes, you know, I'm here for it. I think the Raiders will be good in the future with him, and I think we'll be just fine without him, right? Nobody's bigger than the Shield, and that's all I got to say about that. So shout out to the 21 people in the building. Let me know, who is your offensive tackle? Who is your number one offensive tackle? Do you think there will be 3 offensive tackles taken in the first round? Do you think there will be 5? Do you think there will be 7, 6, 8, 9, 15? Let me know. Let me know in the comments where you feel this tackle group is. And shout out your guy. Let's talk about him. Let's see if he's on my list. Let's, match tackle for tackle. So if you're a football guy and you're a ball guy, right? You're pulling up to watch offensive tackles. You gotta be about ball. So let me know in the comments who your guys are. And if you don't have guys, then maybe it's not a football show, or maybe you're not a football player, and maybe this ain't the show for you. But appreciate you being here. Like, subscribe, and follow. If you're not, maybe we can convince you to be a football guy and like the big uglies in the trenches. But man, let's get into it. Right off the rip, I have a whole bunch of guys that, well, are just those guys that may be overlooked, maybe not overlooked, maybe I'm more than likely will get drafted. It's just dependent on where they will get drafted, when they will be drafted. Guys like Markel Bell out of Miami, right? A guy that played the other side of the best tackle in college football right now. So everybody says entering the draft, we will see. Rick Diaz was good. Should the Raiders draft a wide receiver in the second round? No, I don't. I think there's wide receivers you can get later on. I don't think wide receiver. I mean, I know we need a number one, but unless you're planning on trading up or making some crazy trades, I just don't feel like a wide receiver at number 2 is the smartest decision right now. Now, depending on where the board falls, right? If there's a lot of these guys, I have possible 7 to 10 guys that could possibly go in the first round, which is, depending on how it falls, because safety, receiver, not a deep quarterback class, right? Not a deep first round other classes. So some of these guys could be fishing in the first round. I know some of the mock drafts I'm doing, I'm like, man, who do I put, for this guy? Who do I put for this team? It's difficult. So not deep in some classes, deeper in other classes, and I think it can change. So if there's a lot of receivers taken, I mean, in the first 15, you could see, 4 or 5 receivers taken. I believe, just on the needs for the teams where they're at, they might feel like their guy is in this, in the first round. Some teams might feel like their guy is in the second round. I think there's a lot of steals at a lot of positions, third through fifth round, if these teams do their homework. So, um, but guys like Boston College, Jude Bowery, I think is a guy that could play at the next level, right? Could use a little bit technique, get a little stronger. Shit, I do not have his size and weight. I think he's over 3 and 6'5". I want to say, maybe I'm wrong. Somebody correct me in the comments. A guy like Tristan Lee from Clemson, Isaiah World from Oregon is another guy that some guys have higher than others. Some guys have as sleepers. Bo Stevens was another guy, but he moved positions, right? He will no longer, I don't think, play in the tackle position. But guys like, where is it at? Where is he at on this? Because I don't have his stats on my damn paper. How far? Oh, right here. All right, so one guy that stood out to me that I think is not getting a lot, that, you know, he's got to be somewhere in the top 15, I think, just because of his upside, because of his athleticism, good hand placement, good footwork, a guy that at the point of attack still moving his feet, right? He's not stopped and flat-footed trying to just power guys and stop them from getting by. He continues to move his feet throughout the block. And that guy is Notre Dame, Emil Wagner. Um, Yeah, so like I said, just a true athlete, very technical. He knows when to pop, he knows when to get his hands out. He's very precise with where he hits on his hand placement, which is big in the it's big in the pros, it's big in college football, right? When you have these speed guys, when you have these monster powerful guys, right? It's different. These guys are gonna try to beat you with power, but when you have these fast guys lining up at the ghost nine, or whatever you want to call that position out there, way out deep on the offensive line for these defensive ends, and they're trying to beat guys, with speed to power. Um, some of these guys have problems, especially with the shorter arms. So I think his technical aspect, his athleticism is all there. He's 6'6", but his weight, where the hell is his weight? Oh, 296, 296. So I think that's a problem for Emil Wagner. But if a team wants to take a chance on this guy, I mean, shit, they have him listed way down here, somewhere in the 20s. But I think just his athletic traits are going to stand out in the combine if he does, you know, run all the drills. I think his athleticism will shine if he does run the 40 and stuff like that, for Emil Wagner. But 296, man, you got to start eating some cheeseburgers, right? You're going to have to start eating, some full turkeys. So you're going to have to start eating, bro. You're going to have to pack on some weight. Muscle wise, I think he's there. I think, he gets beat because of his size and his strength. But one of the best technical discipline guys, I believe, on as a tackle in this draft. So a guy that I think is definitely, going to surprise some people at the combine. Somebody I'm looking out for, definitely watching. The next guy is Faya. I'm just gonna say Faya Mo. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. The first name, I'm not even gonna attempt. But this man is 6'5", 317. He's the opposite, right? He lacks the technical discipline. He's got the size, he's got the strength. I think he needs to work on his footwork. I think he needs to get lower at the point of attack. Too much lunging forward, I do believe. Um, but other than that, man, I think just because of his strength, you're gonna see a guy, maybe surprise some people at the combine. At least I'm hoping he gets up there. The next guy is, man, I have this guy in my top 10. I'm just gonna say I have him in my top 10. 6'5", 316 is Keegan Trost. Now, some people don't know who Keegan Trost is. Go check out films. Is it Mississippi State? Mizzou? Fuck, I don't even know. But I think a guy that is very impressive, right? I think he's got decent hands. He's got, you know, the size. Some people say he's better, at guard. I think maybe the arm length could be a problem. I don't know what his measurements are that wise. Um, but everything else I think is workable. I think this is a guy that you could draft, you know, probably late day two, maybe day three, um, depending on how he stands out. CJ Davis is another guy that um 6'4", 320. Again, I don't know his measurables. Wait, hold on. Maybe I do. No, I don't. But anyways, CJ Davis is a man that out of Illinois, I have in my top 10. He's 10 on the list. He's 10 on the list, but we talked about other guys. Did I get through my honorable mentions? Yes, I got through those. But yes, I have him up there, and I had big decisions to make, right? Because he's a guy that I believe can play at the next level. Um, Exceptional in pass blocking, has quick feet. I think in the run game, he needs to get lower, not play with such high pad level. Shout out for the $4 holla. Appreciate you. What does it say? Do you think Max is shifting towards soccer because no, soccer's not gonna help your knee, bro? That's crazy. um, nah, man, he's fine. Red, what's good? What's good? Bueno, appreciate you. So, JC Davis is one of those guys that I think is gonna make some noise in this combine. Tizzy Tisdale, what's good? Appreciate you. Anybody else I missed? Um, I'll get to y'all, or I probably won't. But shout out to everybody in the building. I'll get to the comments here in a little bit more. But yeah, man, JC Davis is a guy that I have, like I said, inside 40 time, could be just a little bit above five. If he gets below five, I think that skyrockets, his stock because he's a guy that you can pull, that, he can get out of his stance really quick and um, get to where he needs to go. He's a guy that I think can hit guys on, well that are moving. He's not a guy that, misses constantly when guys are, when you got to hit one guy and then get to the next guy. I think he's got good vision that way. So just a guy that could be a sleeper. Got to the weight, height, hands, and 7/8. Not the biggest. 40 time doesn't really matter, but good run blocking, good pass blocking, and a guy that I think is gonna make some noise. So I got him in my top 10. I think he's gonna be just one of those guys that rises. Another guy that I had that I talked about is Jude Bowery, right, at a Boston College. I got that. All right, just making sure. Shout out to everybody in the building. I don't know what I just clicked on, but that Raiders jacket is sick as. What site is this? All right. I don't know, but I'm gonna have to go back to that. Sorry, I get distracted easy, but that Raiders jacket was sick as hell, bro. I'm going back to that site. That's my new jacket for sure. Um, all right, but then it's like I said, we got guys like Drew Shelton, 6'5", 305, development piece as a tackle, a guy that could eventually grow into a starter in the right system. Why doesn't it? Sorry, my computer is tripping. I don't know what is going on. All right, so Pennsylvania native, four-star ratings across the board coming out of high school. I thought I had this in the PowerPoints, but it seems like I don't, and I'm not going to read it all. Started all 16 games at left tackle. And the Las Vegas Raiders, right? The Las Vegas Raiders were at a lot of Penn State games. They went to five Penn State games. Could this guy be a sleeper that they're looking at in Drew Shelton? It is possible, right? In the later rounds, maybe they go, maybe they go tackle, maybe they try to get guys to move on the inside. That is a very big possibility. Next on the list, I have a guy that, where the hell did he go? Why is my computer tripping? I said Keegan Trost is just one of those guys that is a mammoth in the run game. He's one of those guys that's just gonna maul people. He's gonna open lanes. He's gonna definitely create run lanes, create passing lanes. Good at pass blocking. I think just needs to work on the point of attack, your hands hitting your target, when to pop. But I think he's a guy that when he grabs a hold of you, you know, he's damn good. I think he has doesn't have quite the arm length, I think, to lock out, on speed guys to keep them away. And I think that's a problem when guys get into his chest or into his body. I think it causes, a little bit of a problem. But we have Ashton Genty and we're running a zone. And I think this man fits in that zone. I mean, 100%. So a guy that the Raiders, if you're watching, take a look at Keegan Trost. He's just physical at the point of attack, good hands. I think, the technique and all that could get better. Um, PowerPoints are gone again. And he played in the SEC, man. So playing in the SEC, is big. Um, Missouri had the eighth best rushing attack in the whole entire country at 228 yards per game. Trost was the center of that. They ran to his side mainly a lot. He played in all 891 of the team's offensive snaps across 13 games. He allowed just a handful of pressures all season. Also posted the nation's top 5 overall offensive grade in run blocking, according to PFF. His blocking helped produce a program record of 12 games. I don't know what the hell. 2 were different back to back that elapsed over 100 yards rushing. So, like I said, dominant in the rushing game. And I know we got a first round quarterback coming out, right? That they're probably going to go out and draft. But you also have Ashton Genty. And we know that Clint Kubiak loves the run game. He loves to be physical in the zone scheme. And this man just makes a lot of sense, right? A lot of sense. So I have him at 9, which would be, in my opinion, maybe early third round, maybe late third round. But I wouldn't be surprised if he goes in the second round. Late second, depending on needs. Again, you have teams like the Cleveland Browns who have absolutely no offensive linemen unless they bring some back. All 5 of their offensive linemen, both tackles, both guards, and their center for the Cleveland Browns are free agents. So when you have teams like that, and Cleveland Browns picks twice in this year's draft. So could they go 6th overall and go like a Fano or, a Lamo Maybe a Caden Proctor early, right? A guy that we'll get into here in a little bit. Definitely could be on this list somewhere, maybe. But guys like the Cleveland Browns, right? I think, if there's a big run on these guys, on these tackles in the second, in the third round, maybe the Raiders have to swing third round. But, if he makes it, if he makes it past the third, like which I just don't see any way. Like I said, he's number 9 on this list. So maybe early third, somewhere like, uh, which I don't know. Charles Grant was drafted in the third round. I think he's a better prospect than Charles Grant at this point. You know, playing in the SEC, going against elite defensive ends constantly, week in, well, not week in and week out, but you know what I mean, a lot. So yeah, definitely higher than Charles Grant. So I'd be surprised if he makes it to the third round. The Raiders definitely gonna have to take a chance. But again, 9 on my list. He's a guy that I just think fits Kubiak's system. He's a smart player, and again, technique and all that with the right offensive line coach, which I think we have in Rick Dennison. I think is the guy up for the task. Next, we have um, Northwestern. Oh, if I get another ad that pops up on this thing, I'm gonna scream. So Caleb Tiernan, I have a number 8. Northwestern. He's 6'7". He's 325 pounds. He has the arm length. He's an absolute monster when it comes to pass blocking. So, the Raiders could go either way. You could get a guy like this who I think doesn't make it out of the second round. And I wouldn't be surprised. Like I said, are there 5? Are there 6? Are there 7 tackles that could be picked early in this draft? I believe there are. I believe there are. And guys are, teams are going to reach. They reach constantly in the NFL. It's just a habit where guys, you know, they overreach for need, and it happens every single year. So, we can evaluate these guys till we're blue in the face, but teams when they get and they feel like, man, this guy could be, a guy for the future. And like I said, I'll break down where I think, who the number one is or who, if there is a day one franchise guy in this draft, or do all these guys just have upside, right? And pretty high floors, which I believe they all have pretty high floors. Excuse me. But Tyrion's pass blocking grade is in the 90s, run blocking grade is in the 70s. Again, I think he's a guy that, you know, is a guy that plays with high pad level. I think it's, these guys that are just big and tall, it's hard for them to get low. Maybe, maybe they just don't want to bend their knees. I don't know, but at 6'7", I think at 325, he's just a guy that plays way too high. And he has 31-inch arms, which is for that size, I think, small arms. I think when guys get into his body, like other guys that I said, when a guy gets into to Tierman's body, it makes it a problem for him. I think he's better if he can keep guys away from him. With his footwork, the athleticism, isn't great. That's why he's not great in run blocking. Don't know. Did they run a zone scheme? Um, 2021, he redshirted in just 3 games he appeared in. He burst onto the scene in 2022, starting 5 games at right tackle as a redshirt freshman. Had a breakout performance against Ohio State. And if you watch him, like pretty much all the big time dudes that he played against, I think he held his own. Where the stalwart Buckeyes pass rusher without allowing a single pressure against Ohio State in 2022. I don't know who was on that defensive line. I probably should have had that in my notes. 2024, he cemented his status as one of the best college premier blindside protectors through 34 games with 30 consecutive starts. Tierman became Northwestern's anchor while earning Academy All Big Ten honors along the way. Potential 59 tackles, 29 for a loss, and 8 sacks seem to be in high school. So yeah, man, one of those guys that if you need a left tackle, Cleveland Browns. If you need a guy to protect that blind side at 6'6", 325, I think this is your man. Maybe not a day one starter, right? But a guy that could be somewhere up there along the lines of a Charles Grant, right? Drafted in the third round, was expected to have time to develop, to sit and learn for a year. Things didn't go, that way. He was thrown into the fire in week 3 or 4, I do believe. Very, very week 2. I think it was week 2. So very early in the season, the starter goes down, he gets thrown into the fire, and he hasn't really had a chance to develop. But this is a guy that I think, if he was thrown in that situation, would hold his own, but definitely needs a year to develop. Then I have a whole list of like a tier 1 or tier 2 or a tier 3 or however you want to call it, right? I think a lot of these guys, uh, I don't know, but it kind of moves around. I have Caleb Lamo. Yes, Caleb Lamo. Because he's a left tackle, yes, he can play right. Um, Good recovery. Needs more power, I think, when it comes to the run game. I had in my notes also. Like, yeah, if you see my notes notebook. But I only have him at 7 on this list for my preferences. Wait, do I have him at 7? Yeah, have him at 7. So, for my preferences, because he's a left tackle, Raiders don't really need a left tackle. We have, Colton Miller. We have Charles Grant that's should be taking over for Colton Miller when he decides to retire or move on, or when Raiders decide to get rid of him, however that works out. Just can't watch the San Francisco 49ers beat the Las Vegas Raiders again. Hey, Rebel, do you think Mendoza is going to throw? No, Mendoza's only going to throw at his pro day. He already said he's going to bitch out. You know, I thought he was one of those competitive guys that, was all about ball. And when you're one of those guys that, all about your guys um, but I think he wants to throw. I think it's just the people above, right? His agent, the teams telling him, look, you don't have nothing to prove. Don't go out there and throw. But I think just for the competitiveness, because the fans want to see it, right? And he has a lot of questions. There's a lot of people that say he doesn't have a good deep arm. Can he throw the ball 40, 50 yards down the field? Can he hit these guys that he doesn't have timing with other than back shoulder throws and, quick slant routes and comebacks? Those are all questions a lot of people have, and we won't get answered, obviously, at the combine. You have to wait till his pro day. So it is what it is with Mendoza. But man, shout out to everybody in the building. Do you feel sometimes I feel like we need and want to defend my team. Nah, you shouldn't have to defend it. Lawrence in the building. What's good, my guy? The Cleveland Browns got nothing on the San Francisco 49ers. What? No, the San Francisco 49ers have an offensive line. The Browns do not. They do not have an offensive line. So, yeah, I'm going to mix it up a little bit. I have Caleb Lamo a little bit further on my list. Um, just because I think the run game needs to be refined. And if you're not solid in the run and in the pass, I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem going in the first round, which he's going to go in the first round, I do believe. But I have Caleb Lamo, 6'6", 308 out of Utah. And again, the Raiders were a lot of Utah games. I do believe 4 to be exact. The big games, the big name teams they played. So I'm sure they were looking at these young men to see where they fit in and if they fit in with the Las Vegas Raiders. But I have Lamo a lot lower than people. I have him at 7. I have him at 7 on my list. And then I have, and I think, LeBeau, I think he's, his recovery, I think he's great at mirroring guys. We just don't need a left tackle, right? So teams that need a left tackle, I'll talk a little bit more about him. He's definitely, I think, the best, probably the best pass pro protector in this draft. Maybe up there with Tyrion, I think is up there too, just because he's so big. But the footwork is better. The hands placement is a lot better. The technique is all there. I think he just needs to be more physical in the run game. And at 304 pounds, I think that's just light. That's a light left tackle. That dude needs to, he needs to pack on another probably 10, 15 pounds of muscle, I do believe. If you get up there somewhere around 325, I think that's a lot more solid, because these defensive ends and these tackles are just going to eat you alive in the NFL. And they're pushing 300 pounds around like it's nothing, and 20 pounds might not make a difference, but I believe it does. So for that, I got Caleb Lamo at 7. And then at 6, I have Caden Proctor, and I wanted to put him at number 1. I wanted to put him at number 2, number 3, really at every spot. I was like, man, he fits here, he fits here, he fits here. And then somehow I ended up settling with number 6. And I'll tell you why. At 6'7", 366 pounds, I think Alabama likes to just feed these guys, barbecue constantly, right? Or something. I don't know what they're eating, but for some reason Alabama just tends to want their tackles to be 370, 60, 80 pounds. And I think it hurts their playing speed. Yes, it helps with the power, but I think it really hurts when it comes to Caden Proctor. And if he could drop down to, 340, right? At 6'7", 340, I think Caden Proctor is the best tackle in this draft. It's not even close. But you're not going to do that overnight. And it's going to take all off season, through the season, discipline, whole lots of workout. The Raiders aren't going to be in a position to draft him, so it's not like you can put him in a room with Max Crosby, be the first one in the building, last one to leave. I think, if you get on a team with guys like that in the building, I think it really helps Caden Proctor. But for the 366, I think in the NFL, you're going to get smoked when it comes to speed rushers. When they put guys out, out at the ghost spot, or the whatever you want to call it, right? When they line up these speed defenders way out and let them get 5-6 steps before they get to these guys, and then they hit them with a spin move, or hit them underneath. I think that speed is a problem. The size is a problem, and I think it's going to hurt them at the next level. Now in the run game, I think it's not, but I believe the footwork is there. The kick step is there. I think at the point of attack, you can't really tell if he doesn't really have to move his feet, because once he gets a hold of guys, he can bend almost completely backwards and he's not going nowhere. He's so damn strong. So I think Caden Proctor could be and should be, and we'll see what he weighs in. We'll see what he weighs in at the combine. Maybe he drops some weight, right? Maybe his trainers are telling him, "Look, you're way better in the combine, showing out if you can drop some pounds." So unfortunately, it's not summer. Maybe you could go to Florida, right? Maybe you can go to Florida and work out where it's still 80 degrees most of the time. Maybe you hit the sauna. I don't know, but for Caden Proctor, if he lost 25 pounds, I think he's number one. He's number one on my list, and he didn't, so he's not. So he's not. I got him at 6. At 5, I have Blake Miller out of Clemson. I have Blake Miller out of Clemson. 6'6", 315. Um, I think in the run game, like a lot of these guys, because he's 6'6", and I'm gonna keep saying it, you're gonna hear this over and over again. You got to get lower. You got to get your level lower, right? Um, you can't be lunging forward with your head down, trying to bulldoze guys in the run game. Not even in college. I mean, it worked a little bit, as you seen. He was just fine, but at the next level, at the professional level, I don't think when you put your head down in the run game, it's not going to help. So, being big, you got to get lower. You got to be more physical. I think he needs to get stronger in the run game. Get in the weight room, I think would really help. But I like Blake Miller. I think, I feel like Clemson had a rough year. Their quarterback had a rough year. The whole team kind of had a rough year, right? So, everybody looked like didn't yeah, everybody didn't really have a great year, but I think for that reason, I feel like Blake Miller is, being overlooked. I like the footwork, I like the kick step, I like the physicality. He knows when to pop. He's not, swinging for the fences on guys and missing, and then guys are blowing by him, right? He doesn't have a problem with guys that have bend. He doesn't really have a lot of problem with speed because of the size and the arm length. So for that reason, man, I really like Blake Miller, and early second round probably, but he's one of those guys that somebody could take in the first, man. I really feel like there's 5 tackles that could be, two. I got three in the top, maybe 15, and then in the last 10, probably another two or three. That's kind of what I'm looking at. I think San Francisco 49ers had a chance. I like Proctor. I like Proctor too, man. You know, everything about this man is just screams offensive tackle in the NFL, right? His size, his arms, his legs. You just got to refine some things, and somebody's going to take a swing on him early. If he wasn't so big and he showed just, a little bit more athleticism at the combine, if he does, whatever he does there, I don't know, we'll see. But man, yeah, the upside is crazy. The floor is crazy. I think he can play at that weight in the NFL. I just think he would be better if he lost some of it. Sports has destroyed the price of education. Sports has destroyed a lot of prices on everything. Raider Nation, The Purge, by the overlay entitled. What? What are we talking about? What's his arm length? Who we talking about? I'm lost. Blake Miller. I don't have that. Let me see. I just know they said it was decent. So, um, hold on, I'm looking right now. 35 inch arms. So that's more than capable. I mean, that's a 70, whatever your chest is. I mean, that's a damn good wingspan. I think you're more than capable. 70, 35 to 31. 4 inches matters, I won't say like I usually say, but ask around. 4 inches might matter. So yeah, good arm length, man. Good arm length. Decent footwork. I think he's again needs to get more aggressive in the run game. I feel needs to get lower. Can get in the weight room, put on some muscle. Because if he puts on some muscle when he latches a hold of guys, I don't think they will be moving around. If he gets the size of Jennings Dunker or something, like this guy would be just absolute monster. And I think he, like I said, I got him in my top five, but he could definitely be he could definitely be lower than the next guy, man. I and probably should be. He probably should be. So the next guy that I have on my list, number four is oh, hold on, time out. All right. So number four on my list is make sure I got the right number. Yeah. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia, man. Monroe Freeling out of Georgia. And I have him where I have him at four because of his age, man. He's 21 years old. I should probably look up his arm length also. 21 years old. The upside is to me through the roof. This dude could just get better and better and better and better every single season. And 21 in the NFL with a 22-year-old, quarterback and Fernando Mendoza, I think would be nasty, nasty work for the Las Vegas Raiders if they had to give up their whole entire draft to move up to the first round. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. I'll take those two players, and a couple more later on, and we'll rock with that. I would be more than fine. Um, do they have his arm length down here? Hold on. No, bitch. All right. So yeah, again, 21 years old, has damn good footwork, um, inconsistent hands, and probably way too early. Again, the only reason I have him as high as I have him because inconsistent hands, right? Sometimes he's popping too early or popping too late or he's missing, he's not hitting the target, right? You're hitting up on the shoulders, you're not getting your hands on the chest where you need to get guys off of balance. Other than that, I think what the fuck just happened? And with the age and the size, 6'7", I think he needs to get stronger. If you pack on another 10 pounds of muscle, right? Build those arms up, build those legs up. I think Monroe Freeland out of Georgia could be, I mean, shit, possible all pro. Possible all pro. Everything's, is decent, right? He's good in the run game, he's good in the pass game. Okay, well, not great in the run game. And again, it's because too high pad level needs to get stronger. You see some games where he looks like he's the alpha out there, right? He's just bitching guys. He's throwing guys, shedding guys over here, picking up guys over there, right? And then you see some games where he just looks like he's calm, cool, collective, just sitting back, waiting for guys come to him to make his move. So a guy that just needs to, and he's 21 again, 21, plenty of time to develop. But I think Monroe Freeling at his size, when you pack on a little bit more weight and as young as you are, right, you can't have too many bad traits that can't be fixed. Just more physical. Somebody's got to bring that dog out in him. And I think this is a guy that makes somebody very, very happy. A lot of people have him a second round grade. I think he doesn't make it out of the first. I really don't. Again, when you look at his age, somebody's going to take a chance. And there's plenty of teams that need offensive tackles in the NFL daily. Raider Nation, just win, baby. Tim McKay was good. Appreciate you. Um, so yeah, man, that's where I got him. That's where I got him. I got him at number 4. And then, oh yeah, and then at number three, I have Francis Mauioa. Yes, he is number three on the list. And people are like, "What in the hell, number three? How is this dude number three?" You turn on the film in Miami, you see, he can do it all. He can do it all. He's a damn good athlete. I think he's for his size, I think he's you could almost say an elite athlete for as big as he is, man. I mean, the guy, the way he moves, shout out to the torch, appreciate you. Um, has damn good hand placement, always on point, right? We talked about some of these other guys where they miss, where they're trying to when they're trying to pop or they're trying to plunge with the one hand, they're missing. So um, he has the size. His arm length, I think, is a problem. Also, sorry, I did not have. Why don't I have everybody's arm lengths? Sorry. Um, yeah, that's what I was trying to do. All right, so he has 33.5 inch arms. Not the greatest, right? Not the greatest. You would like him to be just a little bit, but man, an inch or two shouldn't matter too much with this athleticism. Um, I think side to side, trying to pull or, I think he's laterally slow, which is why I have him where I have him. I don't have him at number one like a lot of people, right? I think he's just side to side. I just don't see, for his size, it's definitely good, but for that, it's not. And then again, the arm length. I think once guys get into his chest, even as big as Mauioa is, once guys get into his chest, which is a problem with all of these offensive linemen we were talking about. I think they have problems, right? So if they could get their hands on them quick and lock out and keep these guys away from them, a lot of these guys are frightening once they get to that point. But it's hard getting to that point. Um, so for that reason, I have Francis Mauioa out of Miami at number 3. And then number 2, man. Number 2, I have Max um, Ian Archer, Ian Acre. I don't know how you say that dude's name, but whatever he is, man, he's an absolute freak of nature and a monster. And yes, the experience is a problem. You know, only 5 years of football. I think that's but it doesn't seem to be a problem when you look at the elite guys he's gone up against this year. He handled his own, right? And I think it was the Miami game, right? Did they play Miami this year? I think that was the game I was watching. Um, when he went up against guys that are going to be projected first rounds, this man held his own. He's dominating. He's moving guys around. The athleticism is there. The footwork is there. He can lock out good. He's got a decent kick step. He's not late with his hands, right? And I think just the upside is crazy, right? There's no telling how good this dude could actually be because of how good he's gotten in a short amount of time and consistently continues to get better and better and better. Um, so that I think when he's beat, I think he recovers well. His recovery is good. Um, he replaces his feet well, right? Doesn't give people his shoulder, a lot. And for not being, for not being in college football that long or even playing the sport that long, I think he's a monster. He's a monster. You know, that one hand stab just destroys people. I've seen him just knock people completely off of balance and completely out of the picture with the one. And you got a guy like that that can just hit, you know, one hand stab on a guy and just knock him out of the picture. I think is just an elite trait. That at that standpoint, um, I feel like he has problems in the run game leverage. Again, 6'6", you know, just need to get lower. Just need to bend your legs. Get lower, keep your head up. You can't put your head down in the run game. Be more physical. And the physicality is there, right? And, you know, some people got him still in the second round. I just don't know how this man makes it out of the first round. I think when we see his scores at the combine, you know, people are gonna start to change, you know, be like, there's no way this dude is that athletic and, you know, that good. So we'll see his movement, right? I like when they do the drills of, you know, these guys laying down, getting up, running around, you know, all that shit. So can't wait for the combine. Can't wait. I hate the bit that the big mans are on Sunday. One of my favorite is watching these big guys get out there and move around, you know, at the speed and the agility they do for the size they are. It's fun to watch. It's fun as hell to watch. So with that, number one is Spencer Fano. I think there's one problem that I see in Spencer Fano, and that's 302 pounds. You're gonna have to put on weight, right? And a lot of these guys, this is the problem. That's why the title of the video says, "Is there a true number one?" And before I get into Spencer Fano, I'm gonna answer that question. I believe no. I believe there's not. I don't think there's a day one guy that comes in like some of these guys last year and, you know, just dominate. I just don't feel that. I don't feel that. I think all these guys are going to have some sort of learning curve at the next level. Yes, some of them are going to be forced to be, you know, day one starters. And, you know, I think they can handle it, but they're going to have learning curves. They're going to, you know, they're going to give up pressures. They're going to give up sacks. They're going to get beat by, you know, speed to power, power to speed, right? And I think for that reason, I believe there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I believe there's 6 or 7. 6 and 7 is crazy. But if you look at how little amount of quarterbacks there are, right? I believe there's 6 of these guys that, and you know, from anywhere from 4 to 7 that could possibly end up getting snagged up in the first round. And people are going to call me crazy, but if you look at last year, if you look at the draft last year where everybody had everybody projected, right? Oh, this guy's a second round, this guy's a third round. They ended up going first. They ended up going late first. Guys end up moving back into the draft or moving up to get guys. So the trenches is a high commodity. Again, you can't be a championship team without trenches. And if you feel like there's a guy that just needs, you know, a little bit redefinement in the run game or in the pass game, but is 6'6" and 366 pounds, or 6'6" and 308, or, you know, 6'6" and 330. I think a lot of these guys, a lot of these teams, GMs and coaches might not pass on these guys. So we'll look to see. We'll look to see. I know there's another probably maybe two guys, maybe 3 that are guards, 2 tackles that could possibly move up into the first round. We'll see what happens with Jennings Dunker. You know, I think he's definitely a guard at the next level just because of his footwork and his athleticism. But some of these guys that I mentioned in my top 10, I think Jennings Dunker is right there with them. And, you know, the aggressiveness, the physicality, the power from Jennings Dunker, I believe he could be a guard, a tackle at the next level, right? Just my opinion. But if not, he's going to be a nasty ass guard. So let me know where y'all have everybody. if I had anybody too high, if I had anybody too low, if y'all would do shit different. I'm gonna get to the comments right now. If the Raiders make the playoffs next season, I'm going to jail. Raider Nation, let's go. Shit, I think everybody will. I think we'll be looting, rioting. Yeah, it'll be crazy. If they make the playoffs, um, I'll definitely be hungover for the first time in a long, long time. I definitely will. Sick and tired of the bullshit. Hoping the Raiders get better. Shout out to my guy. We'll be all right, man. We'll be all right, Rick Diaz. Calm down, calm down. Breathe, breathe, breathe. We'll be fine. Pump the brakes. Unless the San Francisco 49ers get the first round draft pick. Why would the 49ers want a first round draft pick? There's nobody that they need to move up to get. They're not taking a quarterback. That would make no sense at all. I mean, you could go up and get Mendoza, but that would make no sense. My team Raiders have hope for the new season start. Yes, there is hope. I got a question for you. Just a yes or no. Do you think quarterback Trevor Lawrence will ever win a Super Bowl in his career? That's just a yes or no? He's got 4 years. Man, yes or no answers are rough, bro. Rough. I'm gonna say yes. I'm gonna say yes. I think they you just wanted a one answer. Yes. I'm gonna say yes. I think you definitely can. Unless San Francisco 49ers get the first round pick. I think you already said that. Why do we keep saying that? Shout out for the $2 holla. Let's go Raiders. Raider Paul in the building. Raiders. Um, nice dono faded, right? Shout out to the gift. Shout out to all the gifters. Salute Rebel, appreciate you. I heard Crosby wants Bears. I heard a lot with Crosby. We don't know. Are we getting the first round pick? Not the Niners. Yeah, we got the first round pick. Don't worry. Crosby heading to Chicago. You know, if Crosby's heading to Chicago, I think that's a problem. I think that's a problem for the NFL. I think that's a problem for Raider Nation. And I don't think you should let Max Crosby go to a team that its draft pick is going to be in the 20s. Draft pick next year could, be in the 30 or 31 if you get a Max Crosby. I think that's franchise suicide. I really do. I think that's not a move that anybody wants to make. But if Max Crosby's time is done, and there's an awful lot of talk about the Bears. We heard Max Crosby with Ben Johnson. We heard him with Caleb Williams. So we've heard all the talk, right? We see, he's all up on Caleb Williams. Dude even picked his nose and wiped a booger on his couch, and Max didn't even say shit. So you loving a quarterback when you let him wipe boogers on your white couch. So, yeah, man, that's all the problem, bro. But shout out to everybody. Any more questions? I'm gonna get the hell out of here. Here is another question: who is your absolute favorite player in the NFL that doesn't wear silver and black? Whoo. Jackson Dart. I think Jackson Dart. He was very high on my list. I wanted the Raiders to draft him last year. They did not. I like Jackson Dart. And I think that's number one. Number one. Who was your number one player in the NFL and why? The Raiders gonna take Mendoza. Yes, they are. You know why? Hold on, time out. Ow. This is why, bro. They're gonna take Mendoza. Boom. You see that Mendoza shirt? Oh, you can't see it because of the background. Maybe if I stand behind it. Boom, 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 boom. Yep. The franchise, baby. The franchise. I already got my shirt. I just wiped something in my eye, and that shit hurt. No, I'm not a rapper. Oh, flipping hurt. My eyeballs. I really like watching Aaron Rodgers over the years. I kind of like that he seems cocky also off the field. Nice, nice. Yeah, he's definitely up there. Um, Brock Bowers because he's a beast. Mendoza could bring the Raiders back. I hope Mendoza does bring it back, and I hope he's the first overall pick because I already made the shirt, right? It says franchise, but the 1-5 is the S for the IS at the end. I know y'all couldn't see it because of the damn camera, but it's all good. It's on the website. Go check it out. CandyAngel /USA. And with that, shout out to the 14 people in here, man. Like, subscribe, follow. We are less than 80 away from 2,000, and at 2,000, there will be a giveaway. What will it be? I don't know. You have to make sure I get to 2,000, and I will let you know. So, appreciate everybody. Much love. Like, subscribe, again, follow. Appreciate the gifts. Appreciate the likes. Appreciate everybody being here, rocking with your guy. Man, screw Aaron Rodgers. That man gives us hell. Aaron Rodgers, you know, he's a dog, bro. 42 years old, out there still balling, coming off an Achilles, had a decent, you know, decent year. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers, man. And shout out to the 16 people in here. I wish I could stay longer. But I'm really hungry. And my eye is burning. See how I'm crying? Y'all hurt my feelings. Just saying. But shout out, man. Shout out. Tomorrow we will be breaking down. What do I have? Tomorrow we were breaking down linebackers. So pull up tomorrow. It'll be linebacker you. We will not you, but linebacker me. We will be breaking down linebackers top 10. You know, with a couple shout outs, guys that just missed the list. But make sure you go check out these guys, do your homework, follow up, and again, come back, leave a comment in the video. Let me know, did I have some of these guys too high? Did I have them too low? Where do you have these guys ranked? Peace, much love, like, subscribe, all that shit. Protect your mind, protect yourself, protect your family and your loved ones. And always do unto others as they do to you. Peace.